Great League Remix Cup is my favorite cup of them all, and that is mainly because the top 20 Pokemon from Open Great League are not allowed here at all. So here is an exciting format for you trainers, and today we're gonna dive into Great League Remix with a lot of action by 4 teams in total so that you can have a better understanding of the meta. Let's analyze together the core breakers of each teams, and of course we're gonna see the strategy behind each individual team for sure. So starting off with the first team composition, we're gonna have a Cradily, a Mandibuzz, and an amazing Antonia Ninetales. So this team is looking pretty strong on the charge attack factor. You can get there super fast with your fast attacks, while your charge attacks can be deadly for any opponent. I really like how safe this team is actually, because even against a counter user up in front with your Cradily, you can always rotate to your Mandibuzz and still have the upper hand towards the end game with your Ninetales. The only core breaker that I have found for this team is gonna be Regirock, and that is mainly because of its charge attacks in combination with its typing, because the rock typing cannot be appreciated at all by the backline, while Focus Blast can still do a solid amount of work against your Cradily. Good news here is though that Cradily can absolutely handle the power of Regirock if you can block once. Those grass moves are gonna do a lot of damage to that poor Regirock, which is kinda classy for the meta, and you can always counter your Cradily as your main Regirock counter. Even at the back though, you still have the amazing bulk of Mandibuzz, which can handle those stone edges and still deliver some really nice neutral blows to that Regirock with your foul plays or even the dark pulses. Just keep in mind that you're gonna need for this cap Snarl as your safe switch version of Mandibuzz, whereas when you're deciding to use your Mandibuzz up on the lead, you might want to have something like an Air/Slash version. So for the closing part, of course, we got Antonia Ninetales, and I recommend going with Ember, but if you do not have Ember, still go with Fire Spin and you're gonna be just fine. Weather Ball and Overheat are just gonna connect for big damage, while Psyshock will not be that great for this cap, especially with Scrafty around. And speaking of Scrafty, well, the next team showcase is all about it, since we're gonna use it as a closer. The lead option is gonna be of course Golbat, to protect our Pokemon over here from the fairy types mostly, and of course will give you coverage against other counter users, which Scrafty is kinda afraid of due to its dark typing. As a safe switch we have Vigoroth, and Vigoroth is an amazing option to draw out that fighter that the opponent is gonna have, so that your Scrafty is gonna be even safer on the closing part. So you can see as to how you can utilize the synergy behind this team, and of course Golbat upon the lead is gonna add up one of the most solid leaders on the entire meta, especially with those Poison Fangs coming back to back, and you can get there severely fast with your wing attacks. A Shadow Golbat can always be used, but I really like the regular run here, because up on the lead Shadows do not perform that great. So you have a regular one of a Golbat, just go for it. You are not gonna regret it. This Pokemon is pretty good, while at the closing part your Scrafty is most likely gonna have the better and the best actually closing part with its amazing moveset and those power up punches vamping up your attack stat even more. So keeping shields for the end game can always be the key over here. Galvantula on the core breaking part, of course you can see as to how this can be a real deal for this team. Those electric moves will not be appreciated at all by Golbat. It has the back typing, for the backline, which means that those counters can be resisted. However, against Vigoroth the battle is kinda even. You have the Shadow Ball that you can always threat it when you come back into the battle with your Golbat, and of course those foul plays can still do a solid amount of work against Galvantula. So it is gonna be a core breaker for sure for every single individual pick of this team, but still not that much of a harsh one, and you can definitely play around it. Moving forward, we're met up with a Machamp. So this is one of my favorite Pokemon for the meta, and of course Shadow Machamp can add up even more pressure for your team against the opponent, especially with those counters dealing even more damage, and the cross chops can be deadly even to neutral opponents. I really like Rock Slide for Machamp here, because it will give it coverage against those flyers, and of course even against a ghost type it is gonna be pretty good overall. Do not underestimate Machamp matchup at all. If you do not want to use it even against your opponent, well, do not give it a whole room to play around because it will definitely destroy you down. So at the backline here we have a Pidgeot and a Quagsire, and having a matchup upon the lead means that you definitely need that extra bulk from your Quagsire, so do not use a Shadow one. You can definitely play with a regular one, and you're gonna need that extra bulk for sure on the safe sweet spot. As a closer, Pidgeot can do a lot of solid work with its moves, and especially with the other two Pokemon protecting it from those steel types, I think that Pidgeot can absolutely go to town with those Brave Birds, or just debuff the opponent and then come back with another Brave Bird, and you're gonna be on a very good spot overall when shields are down. As a core breaker here, Whimsicott can do a lot of solid work with its grass typing against Quagsire. The fairy typing will help that matchup, but of course Pidgeot can handle this threat for sure. My advice to you about the Whimsicott up on the lead, just sacrifice your matchup and you're gonna be just fine towards the remaining battle. For the final one, I have an interesting team for you that I'm not that much of a big fan, to be honest, because of Cresselia. I hate Cresselia, not only in Ultra League but also in Great League, so I'm not using it that often. But for this team, I think that it can work super good, and if you have one below 1500 CP, well, this team is just for you, because Whiskas upon the lead is gonna be able to spam its way to victory, while unlike the other Mad Boys, it has a solid answer to the flyers. Of course, Quagsire has access to Stone Edge, but for Whiskas, getting to the Blizzard will be much more deadly, and of course, with Dragon type still being around, I think that you're gonna be on a very good spot with Whiskas over Quagsire for this team up on the lead. As the closer, this version of Cresselia that I have doesn't have Future Sight but instead Moonblast and Grass Knot, but of course Future Sight can also help you a lot against certain matchups, so it's all up to you about the moveset. If you do not have a Legacy one, do not be that much of an underwhelmed trainer. You can still play around this, and of course Future Sight with Moonblast can be a solid option as well, but of course the standard one will be Grass Knot and Moonblast for your Cresselia. Safe switch of this team, Shadow Drapion. I decided to go with the safest switch of them all, of course, because Shadow Drapion is absolutely amazing on the Open Great League. Not a lot of people are playing it, I know, but still on the Great League Remix, I think it has a lot of potential, and even against its counters, it is just gonna be an amazing Pokemon overall. Once again, you need a Shadow for this Drapion for sure. And now with that said, let's see what the core breaker might be, because we're having a Ferrothorn here which can wall down Whiskas, which is kinda bad, I know. Its steel typing will prove to be one of the best typings overall for the Remix, and if you happen to have a steel type, well, this Ferrothorn can be kind of a problem, especially up against Cresselia, resisting those psychic moves and the fairy ones, while double resisting the grass. And so you can see as to how Ferrothorn can break this team apart, and of course you have to play around it for sure. However, there is still some room to play around it because of Ferrothorn not having the best attack stat ever. You can tank some moves with your backline and still kinda try to play around Ferrothorn for sure. This team is super strong though, and I recommend to you no matter what, and even though Ferrothorn is a big core breaker of this team. So that is gonna be all for today, trainers. Thank you for watching and for staying till the end. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, and of course consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more of my content. So with that said, trainers, I have 2 videos for you to check out. Feel free to do so, and I will see you all into the next one.